Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Saturday to you. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend with you and your family. We're taking a look here, of course, at Bitcoin once more, helping understand best practice and big picture. And, obviously the price is doing fairly well, all things considered. And it's pretty much what we were expecting, but again, we had this really strong increase. We want to look at that, see if that's healthy, and essentially how much further down the price could go if it were to retrace, and effectively how much higher it could go if we break through this channel that we're in right now, stuck somewhere between 19 and 22,000. So again, we'll take a look at that and much more. If you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I really just love teaching people to trade. I really hope you can learn something here today, and if so, fantastic. Let me know. Comment below, and if not, that's okay too. Perhaps another video will speak to you. Again, this is just a learning experience. We're trying to extract information as much as we can so we can try to identify the next steps and where things are going to go. It's not an exact science, but you can increase your odds for sure. Lately, honestly, we're close between 80 to 90% success rate on our signals. And again, we're just using a different strategy, a unique strategy in this climate, and it's important to be collaborative and dynamic when you're trading and not getting stuck in the same old thing. Either way, check that out in your own time if you would like to become a community member. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. I do offer discounts for military and third world countries. Feel free to message me direct. Just make sure you only use the contact information in my description and nothing else. I'm never going to respond to you send you a WhatsApp link or anything of that sort. I'm not going to solicit you, okay? I don't have time for that, honestly. All right, so taking a look here at Bitcoin. So on the daily, we know we're kind of stuck on a range, right? So we've got this little range, so to speak, right around 21,700 is a high. Yes, we got a wick up to about 22.6, but that was kind of a bit of an anomaly. Our one-day candlestick closes are averaging right around 21.7 as a resistance. We saw the price action just try to hit that, which is great. We could very well see a retest. I think we'll continue to see some. Maybe a breakthrough here. We'll look at that in a moment, but what I'm getting at is the fact that we're kind of range bound, for lack of better terms, right here between 19,000 and just say 22,000 as a round number. Okay, so 19 to 22. So just keep that in mind. When you're range bound, it's fairly easy to continuously buy low, sell high, buy low, the whole 9 yards there. It's effectively what we've been doing is just range trading. Now you want to try to identify a breakout, and that's what we're hopefully going to look at here today. We don't have enough data likely this weekend based on being lower volume in general. Yes, the price action is moving higher, but we don't have enough volume in most cases on the weekends to essentially be able to rely on that consistency. So try not to get overly sold on this weekend like, hey, yeah, it's totally bullish and going all in. That may not be the best fit. Although it does give us that indication, here's the thing that's interesting. We are seeing a potential triple top. And we already have kind of a triple bottom. So it could literally go one way or the other. Honestly, it's just a matter of which way it decides it wants to break. As soon as we break through this channel, there's a likelihood it'll probably continue. It'll retest that previous resistance level as a support and bounce and effectively continue higher, and or the inverse as well. Or we could see a retest to just say the 19,000 range, and it could push down lower to the 14 to 17 range. Again, a lot of hypotheticals. We're not there yet, but that's generally the situation we're at this precipice of greatness, either up or down. It's one of those things, because you can only be range bound for so long. Prices rarely stay in this range for this long. Bitcoin is very notorious and common to find a 2 to 4 week range and then break free. And we are getting really darn close to that. June 18th was our effective lowest point, and right now we're at July 16th. It's almost exactly 1 month, so I would not be surprised if we see a break. More likely to the upside, but again, we'll see what that looks like. One thing I also want to touch on, of course, if we look at the monthly, is just the fact that we had 3 red candles followed by a potential green candle this month. So I do think we should see a push to 28,000 as a potentiality this month or next, just based on the simple sentiment that we go down 3 and we come up 2. We go down 3, come up 2, came down 3, we're due to go up 2. It's just kind of the natural progression of how things should work. Screen is getting funny there. So this is kind of where we're at there. Keep in mind we're underneath a key level resistance right here at about 21,500 as a close approximate for the 50-day SMA on the monthly. It'd be important to close above that this month to have a continuation to the upside. Once again, breaking that level would put us very close to that break in that descending trend line that we're seeing with the 50-day SMA on the daily. So again, one of those things that we could very well see, some positive stuff here soon. So taking a look down at the RSI, of course, we're under 50. No surprise. We've still got a MACD divergence, but this is potentially going to slow down. And there's a great chance that if this next month closes higher, we'll have a nice shorter oscillator here. Essentially, it's telling us that we're not in dire straits. So I wouldn't read too much into the MACD. That's already it feels like it's kind of reaching its end here potentially soon. While there could still be more downside, I don't think it's going to be as extreme or as soon as you might expect. We might see a pushback up to 28 and then a rejection down to the 17 to 14 range. I think it's more likely for us to see an increase before we see a decrease, though, just based on how overextended we are to the downside. You look at the weekly here, you can see TD sequential, we hit 9 weeks in a row, plus overtime. We literally have not had a good, healthy consolidation period yet up until the last 4 weeks. So the last 4 weeks are nice consolidation. So it makes sense as to why we should see that. And also, if we see this candle here on the weekly, this is a fantastic candle. We love to see this, like kind of a hammer up. You could effectively call that a dragonfly doji candle. It's almost there. So, in a lot of ways, if we can close this week closer to 21.7, we'll have a strong, type of candlestick, which is really a good indication that the week following should be continued upwards in that same direction. Or down, obviously, if you got a gravestone. But generally speaking, that's kind of what we're looking at there. So all good stuff in that sense. Looking at the daily, though, just kind of touch on this. Of course, we've got this ascending trend. We'll look at that on the smaller time frames. We're testing 50 on the RSI. Once again, there's that key level resistance. We keep getting rejected at 50 on the RSI, and we get rejected at 21,700 as well on the price action on the one-day candlestick close. We had this double doji candle, led us to the downside. So hypothetically, we come up here and we don't double doji, we should see a continuation of the upside. Again, a little too early to tell being the weekend, but we have nice momentum, some positivity here. Breaking through 50 on the RSI would be super, super important to get us through that level. So honestly, a closure above 21.7 would be fantastic. It's absolutely what we're hoping for. And then also take a look at the 4 hour, kind of see where we're at. We're still trending between 50 and 70, so that kind of gives us that midterm benefit. We're still seeing higher lows and higher highs. So there's nothing that is inconsistent here. It's still just continuing to do what it's supposed to do. We also have this ascending type of range where we can see that it continues to work up. And ranges or trends like you're seeing here, they have a tendency of continuing until they don't, right? So it's one of my favorite statements in trading is like, things happen until they don't. And that's the truth of it, really. In most cases, obviously, trends can only last for so long. But this has nice, healthy continuation to hit within those standard deviation areas, if you will. I mean, if you took a volume weighted average price of that continuation, you'll see that the price commonly gets rejected at the upper and or lower standard deviation line, and that it's effectively kind of helping us continue much further. So again, some positive stuff there in that sense. This ascending trend as well that we have overall, which is a very slow ascending trend on the daily candlestick close, is still coming up as well. So for the most part, we're still seeing some positivity here, and the likelihood of a breakout to the upside is fairly high, right? You can only continue to test a specific level until it breaks upwards, right? So it's generally just something to throw out there. Definitely no guarantees, but it does feel more likely that the price wants to go up than down. That's just really what we're seeing here so far. Same thing with the MACD. We see we got potential divergence that just kind of bounced. There was nothing there. So we could very well see this continue to push up again soon. You do see these things happen quite frequently. They don't always come up and come down and just sway in motion. We'll get bounces like we just saw there. So basically just tells us that even though we didn't get a convergence on the MACD, it's effectively like we had one, and that does allow for us to continue that push. The only thing that's a concern, of course, is the resistance level, up at the 21.7 to 22,200, 22.2, that $500 range. That could be a strong resistance channel that we might see here soon. We'll see here soon get tested, but if it breaks through is the question. We need it to break through. That's what we want. It has all the workings here to do that. But once again, whales have different goals than we do. They have profit-taking goals, and there's been a lot of profit in the last 5 or so days. There's meat on the bone that they might want to take. So I wouldn't be surprised we see somewhat of a correction on Monday. As long as that correction isn't lower than this 19,800 support level, I think we're in good shape, honestly. So still, again, not the worst thing ever, but We want to break free from this range if at all possible. That would be ideal, both to the upside and or downside. Just to actually, get it done, get it over with, right? If we're going to come down lower, let's do it already. So we'll see what happens with that here soon, of course, but a lot of good, healthy stuff. We look at the TD sequential on the 9, well, sorry, not the 9, on the 1 hour, we can see 9 hours of continuation here. So it makes sense we're going to see some consolidation. We could very well see 21,100 work as a support level based on the fact that that's a previous resistance here and kind of a bit of that shelf. Worst case scenario, the price comes down maybe a little bit lower to the upper 20,000 range, maybe 20,800, and then effectively bounces. So price comes down to 20,800, all good. Price comes down to 21,100, all good as well. So it wouldn't be terrible to consider, taking a position, I would say, to the upside here based on that sentiment, but I would maybe have 2 entry targets, one currently where the price action is at, and another one at a lower price point closer to 20,800. So the price does come down, you get filled with a nice average price lower. And obviously, if it continues much lower, you can close out your position because honestly, if we start making lower lows, we're going to see something in the 20,500 range, and that would be disadvantageous. That would break this trend that we're in, and that would essentially tell us that there could be a shift in momentum. So we want to pay attention to see if the next higher low is lower low than the previous, right? Because anytime we see this next one come down, any lower than this level, we're going to be in a situation where we're not in wonderful shape. Okay. It would kind of reset this whole continuation process. I'm not saying it'll be bad, but we'll figure it out when we get there. However, that's essentially things I try to look for. We also have a nice little support here working with the cloud. And that's the great thing about the cloud too. It has a tendency of working concurrent with trend lines. That's why it works so well. So in this sense, we see the price action come down. I would say 20,800 would probably be the lowest point which we should see. Possibly even, just to 21,000 even to essentially hit this little shelf that we had here previously. But the bottom line here is, if you have a long position open, you want to keep it open. That's why we just took our 3rd profit target for Bitcoin here recently. And it's just one of those things where you set realistic targets, right? And you want to make sure you hit them. So when you're stuck in a range, you have tighter targets and you have a trailing stop loss that adjusts once you hit your moving target number 2. So for us, we've hit our 2nd moving target. So in that sense, our stop losses move to break even. So if the price does retrace, we still take profits because we've already hit 70-80% first, right? I'm mentioning that because this is relevant here in the sense that we want to leave our position open and really just telling us that there's a strong continuation potential to the upside, right? We see that happen. Lagging span will not intersect with the price action and will effectively have a nice continuation to the upside. Conversion lines above the baseline. There's a lot of positivity here. Again, not telling you to specifically take a position right now. If you were to, I would just take a smaller position because the price could very well come down a little bit lower. We are overextended, but on the same accord, we should and could very well, if this continuation happens, see a bounce right here at about 21,100, 21,200, which was the most recent high where the price couldn't come any higher yesterday, right around 1 p.m. Pacific. So again, those are kind of what the things that I like to look for. So in truth here, there's more positive than negative to the upside, right? And again, all you're doing is extracting information from the entire, charts, every single time frame, figuring out what direction it's heading. Okay, so there's no guarantees it's going to continue upwards, but it has a stronger probability. Okay, and those are probabilities that you want to base your research and your investments on, right? So again, you're not gambling as much if you're to use proper analysis and really just use deductive reasoning, try to figure out what's going to happen next. So just kind of some friendly advice there. Generally speaking, that's what you want to look for when you're doing this. But all signs do still point upwards here for the moment. I just wouldn't be surprised if we see a slight pullback. If that pullback is greater than that 20,800 range and we close below that, then we might have to have a different story, and it very well could continue lower from there based on its pattern of up and down, and retesting those support levels. Okay, again, a lot of different things that you could think about, but it definitely looks like Bitcoin is here to play, and a lot of good altcoins are surging as well. I mean, we can see even though Bitcoin dominance is Bitcoin dominance is down. That does imply that a lot of alts are getting some big attention. Ethereum being one of them. It took off completely. It broke through its channel here, and it's definitely looking very, very good. So again, I'll cover that probably here in just a moment, honestly, but Anyways, the state of the nation here is pretty good. We break through this level here at 20,700, a nice solid candlestick close above that. We'll be in pretty darn good shape. That's honestly just the way it looks. So that's essentially where we're at here for the moment. Hopefully you found benefit and you learned something here today. If so, comment below. If you want to learn a lot more, become one of our community members, over 200 active members at this point, feel free to join. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. I do offer signals and a trading academy too to help teach you essentially everything you need to know, things that I feel are important, not just the technical analysis, a lot of mindset too, and how you need to be in the right state of mind to have a good trading experience. Either way, thanks again for joining me here. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. We'll see you later. Take care.